Okay, welcome to another demonstration video for learning about accounts, rights, and permissions. So this is kind of like a part three video, I'll say, where we'll be essentially in addition to my previous discussion video that was focused on encryption types and talking about the differences between different accounts and their associated rights and permissions. So first, we're going to work to understand the difference between the initial user and administrator accounts. Let me open up my VMware workstation here, open this up. So in a client operating system, when we install the operating system, it'll ask us to create a new user account right after the completion of the installation. At that time, we create a new user to sign into the computer for the very first time in our system. That user is known as an initial user. This user has limited admin rights, which means that they can perform several administrative tasks, such as creating a new user, resetting passwords, updating group memberships, enabling, disabling accounts, sharing resources in the networks, and setting policies for user accounts. These are some of the basic rights that that initial user has, but it does also come with a few restrictions, which are the inability to directly create a file on a root drive, create new users from the command prompt, and modify a system host file. So we're going to go ahead and work on some of these initial user rights to get a better visual understanding of what we're talking about. So to go ahead and start here, I'm just going to go to my run. And we will open up the command prompt here. And so my username is the client 10A Tomas here. So if I want to check this, I can just type host name, and we see client 10A with my user Tomas. And to see who is logged in, you can type the command who am I, and there you go, shows both right there. And so this just shows you who the current user is and who is logged in right now. Now let's say you want to know how many users you have on your computer. You can enter net user. And this will give you a list of the available users on this computer. So you can see we have our administrator, default account, guest, Tomas, which is what I'm currently in, and then this WDAG utility account, which basically stands for Windows Device Genuine Utility Account. By default, all of these accounts, other than this initial user account, which is our client 10A, are made available by Microsoft, and all of these accounts are disabled by default. So now how do we check the accounts that are disabled? So for this, I'm just going to type in the command computer management here. And so this is going to bring up our computer management console. Let me just make that a little bigger here. Open up our local users and groups. And here we will go into users and we can see all of these here. So now if I kind of shorten these up a little bit here. So now here we can see all the users that we saw in our command prompt here. They're just listed as such on this side here. And we know that all, like I had mentioned earlier, all these accounts here, aside from the Tomas account, are showing as disabled. So if I were to go open this and go to properties, you can see that it's checked there as account disabled. It's going to be the same thing for all these other accounts. So we've discussed that there's a difference between the initial user and administrator. Now we're going to go ahead and test these restrictions. So here we're going to try and create a new user from our command prompt. So if I go back to here, and here I will go ahead and type in net user. Let's say we want to create a user by the name of Tom. I'm just going to do a simple password, 123, do /add. When I go to enter, it says system error 5 has occurred. Access is denied. So when we try to use this command, we can see that it does not let us because we do not have the rights to create this command or to create this account from our command prompt here. Now, if I go back to my computer management console, I'm going to try and do the same thing here and just add a new user. I go to enter. Tom. Same thing. We'll just go with that simple password. I won't make him change password. We can create, close. And now we can see here that we were able to create the new user account by the name of Tom. It accepts it. So the same user that we were able to create here in GUI mode, we're unable to create over here in class command line interface mode. Why? Essentially, the system is designed with security layers that require elevated administrator privileges to complete such actions. So this demonstrates our first initial user restriction. Now we know that initial users do not have rights to create a file on the root drive as well. So from here, I'm going to open my File Explorer, and we're going to go to this PC, and we'll go to our C drive disk here. Okay. So this is my root drive where our operating system is available. Now by default, like I had mentioned, you cannot create your individual files here. So we're going to check this by trying to create one. So if I just right click and go to new, it gives me the option to make a folder. So let's say if I create a folder here, we'll name this folder Tomas's files. If I go into this folder and right click and go to new, now we'll see we have a much longer drop down list here. Instead of just a folder, it gives me the option to actually make some files, or whether you want to do like a bitmap image, a rich text document, or text document. These same options that were not available to us here on our local disk drive. If I do it again, same thing, it only lets you do the folder. So now that essentially kind of demonstrates the second restriction where we do not have the option for creating a file on our root, the root drive there. So now we're going to review our third user restriction, which states that the user cannot manage system host files. So a system host file is a file that helps us like block websites from our system, which we can use to protect from things like unauthorized access. Just to see this, I'm going to go back to my run command here, and we're going to type in system32. And inside system32, we need to find a folder by the name of drivers. So let me just scroll down here, go click there. In this drivers folders, we're going to go to this next folder by the name of etc. And in there, we have this file by the name of host. So we will double click that, and it's going to open up in our notepad. Okay. And we'll see that this pulls up this host file. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to update this file and see what happens. So how 171, and let's say we're entered google.com here. So I'm going to go to file and hit save. So when we go to save, it gives us the option to actually save as, not save, which means that you can save a copy of this file somewhere else, but you cannot actually modify or disturb the root file settings. So, essentially it lets you save a copy. It's not going to let you disturb the actual file. I'm just going to go ahead and close this for the time being. We'll close this down, and I'm not going to save for now. So this is the third restriction here. These are the problems that the initial user will face with their account rights. So when we move over to the administrator, they can manage all these things with and as well as the permissions with no problems. So we're going to go ahead and verify that the administrator can in fact manage all these things that the initial user can't. So at this portion here, let me just close this stuff down now. We're going to go back to our users here in our computer management console, and we're going to now enable our admin account and log in. So first, For our administrator, I'm going to right click and we're going to set the password. I'm just going to proceed here. Same thing, just make it a simple password for our administrator. For demo purposes here, password has been set. I'm going to double click next. And on these properties, I am going to unclick this account is disabled. We're going to apply and select OK. And so now we should be able to log in and perform these tasks. So let me close these windows here. And same thing, because it's kind of a new profile that's being enabled here. I'm just going to pause the video and we will resume after I am logged back in with my administrator account. Okay, so now we're logged in with our admin profile here. So I'm going to go back to my run command here. And we'll open up our command prompts. So we can see now we're in with our administrator. So just like when we were with our initial user, I'm just going to check a couple of things here. Host name and who am I? We have our client 10A and administrator, just to verify that. Now I will enter in that user here to see all of our users. All right. And so again, just like before, we can see all of our users, including our new user, Tom, which we had created in GUI mode with our user account client 10A for the Tomas and the computer management console. So I'm going to open that up again. Second to load up here. Okay, so here we have our computer management console. I'm going to go to my local users and groups here, go to users, and same thing here, just like with our computer site or computer command prompt here, we can see all of our users. So now we're going to go ahead and create a new user account, but this time we're going to do it from our command prompt. So from here, I'm going to open net user. We'll say user by the name of Jerry. Simple password here. And oh, just a second here. And we're going to hit enter here. Now it shows that the command completed successfully. Go over to this side, just hit refresh. Now we can see our new user. But difference between, now being on our admin account versus when we were on our initial user, Tomas, we were able to complete or create this new Jerry account from our command prompt, where we were not able to do that initially with our Tomas account. So this first step here just confirms one of the rights that the admin account has over the initial user account. So we're going to move on to the next phase here and try to create a file on our root drive. So if I go to my file explorer, open that up. And I go to this PC, local disk. And here I am just going to right click and we'll go to new. And right off the bat, you can see we have this long drop down list where it doesn't just give us the option for folder. We can actually see we have the option for adding a new text document where on our root drive, where we didn't have that on our initial user account. So I'm just gonna here make a new text document and we'll just call this my file. And it lets me save it there. That is the second restriction here that we show that our admin does not have versus our initial account. Moving on to the final verification here, we're going to see if we are able to modify a system host file. So let me just close this file explorer. I will go to run, enter system 32. And then same thing as before, we're going to go down to our drivers folder, up to our etc. folder, hosts. And then it's going to open up in our notepad here. And we're going to go ahead and just modify this file. So for this part, I will just mark this as this is my file. And so now when I go to hit file save, it saves like normal. It doesn't give us that save as option. So by default, we're able to modify and manage everything here with the help of our administrator account. Now, something that I do want to know is the run as administrator feature, which can help execute an app or a program on behalf of the administrator. This command is also only available on accounts who are members of administrative groups only, not general basic users. So now we're going to go ahead and test this. So we're going to close everything off and sign off and log back in with our client 10A Tomas profile. So while I do that, again, I'm just going to pause the video here. Okay, so I'm logged back in here. We're just going to go back to run our command prompt here. And one more time, I'm just going to attempt again to add a new user from our command profile. So we will be going to try to add a Mickey here. And access denied. But now if I go to my search option here, go to command, brings up the command prompt. But if I right click, I can run as administrator. And we're just going to select yes. And so now we'll see our second command prompt here with the administrator. And we're going to do the same exact thing that we just tried. User Mickey, 1, 2, 3, add, enter. And now it shows that the command completed successfully. So now we can see we have the two different command prompt windows, one for the user, one for the administrator. With the success there, this is essentially just a nice workaround in instances where you may need to use this feature if there is any type of account restriction or anything like that for your admin account specifically. So now we're going to go ahead and switch to our group administrations and learn about what kind of groups we have and how we can manage those. So for that, I'm going to go back to my computer management here. In the same area here, we'll go to the local users and groups. And we will select our groups. And so here we can see that we have these 19 groups available, but this does not include the enterprise level groups. Here we only see all of our default user groups. So sometimes in some applications from the view option here, you can see other groups through the advanced features option. But here we don't have that option available. So from what we can see here, these are the default groups from where our operating system managers user permissions and places them into the relevant groups based on their rights, permissions, and requirements for the default settings. So by default, whatever group or user you create, whether he or she belongs to any specific group, it always becomes a member of the users group here. So if you open up the user group, I'm just going to double click that there. You can see we have our different members that we've created here, Jerry, Mickey, Tom, and then we have our authenticated users and interactive users. These are the system managed groups. So whoever authenticates themselves on a computer will be recognized and as an authenticated user. And an authenticated user is always available in this group so that the system understands, recognizes, and provides access. So let me go ahead and just close this down here. I'm going to go back to just close all this stuff down, go back to our desktop. And for this one, we're going to move to another location where we can view resources. So I'm going to, on my desktop here, we're just going to right click and create a new folder. And we're going to simply name this folder data. And now when I right click on my folder and go into properties, we have these data properties window come up. You'll see two different types of permissions, which are based around local versus sharing permissions. And that's basically our sharing and security tabs folder here. So local pertains to your system only, and sharing is over, say, like the network. So we're going to go with our local first, which is our security tab. Here we can see that we have we have user and group names. And if you select edit on the next screen here, we can see we have our systems group, we have our client 10A Tomas, which is our local user, and then we have administrative groups. So these are the three groups where you have the permissions and right settings managed. Now I'm going to click on add, and when you click on add and then select advanced and find now, it's up a little more. Now we see a much longer list here. And this is a list of groups that were not on our original default group list. So let me just bring that back up again one more time here from our container management, and I can kind of show these side by side. And expand that name list there. We have this original default list, and then over on this side, we can see this much longer list. I want to say this is about 43 groups on this list here that we're seeing. So if I select object type to explore the groups here, we can see these check marks here. I am going to remove other objects and users so that we just have these two selected, the built-in security principles and the groups. And then we're going to select OK. Okay. We'll select advanced and find now again. And just expand this name bar here. And so yeah, if we look closely here, we can and count our groups, we can see that now we have about 43 different groups available now as compared to the 19 on the previous list. So looking at both lists side by side, we can match the groups from the default list to our local groups list. Anything showing in the client 10A folder here, over on this side, is visible on our computer management console. All the others are not. So the membership of these other groups are actually modified by the operating system. Now, as this pertains to cybersecurity, it is good knowledge to have so that you can understand from where specifically groups and users are added. And based on those things, you can be sure not to compromise accounts by not knowing where these groups are coming from when dealing with these groups that are managed from your system registries. So this is what we have in local permissions. Now I'm going to close all these windows and then we're going to go through our sharing permissions. So same portion here, but we'll go to sharing. And then when I go to select share here, sorry, advanced sharing. And I select share this folder. And we are going to select permissions. And so on this permissions for data here, you're going to see the configurations for this folder here. So at the top, we can see that the current permissions are set for everyone, which is every single person in our system. So we are going to change this. I'm going to select add. And then kind of similar to before where we went to the object types, we're going to keep this to just built-in security principles and groups. Okay, we'll do advanced and find now again. And here we have pretty much the same list as the previous time. Here we see the groups and built-in security principles. So built-in security principles are those groups that are specifically issued or offered by Microsoft, and then it's managed by the system itself. So you can't modify or change anything or manage anything. Now, if I cancel this and change the object type to only built-in security principles. So we'll go back to object types. I'm going to leave it just as built-in security principles. Okay, advanced, find now. Now here we see only the groups that are not listed in my system. This group is managed by the operating system itself. And to see the groups managed by the system administrator, we'll go to object type and select group only. So let me that and start second here, object types. We're going to do just groups. Okay, that's fine now. And now here we see the matching list or the default list that we saw over here on our computer management console for in our folder client 10A. And so this here just essentially just helps to portray the idea of the difference between our sharing and local permissions. The system manages group modifications and group memberships most of the time, but depending on your administrative permissions, you can perform those tasks. So now how can we add someone in a specific group and assign admin rights? For that, we're going to go back to our community management. Go here, we will go to our users. And we do already have a Tom user. So let's go ahead and say we want to go with our Tom user. I am going to sign out and sign in with him. So let me go ahead and just pause and then we'll resume after. Okay, so now I am logged in with our user Tom here. Now, before we assign the administrative rights, we need to discuss user account control, which is a notification and rights validation system where the user needs to verify their credentials based on their rights and permissions before performing any kind of administrative tasks. So for just a quick demonstration on Tom's account here, I'm going to bring up the run and we'll go to our command prompt. And we're just going to check the computer accounts again. So I will go to net user, shows all of our users here, Mickey, Tom, Jerry, and then all of the default accounts there. And so now let's say our user Tom wants to change his IP address. So I'm just going to real quickly here pull up ncp.cpl. And we're going to try to go into properties and update the IP address. So here, if I right click, go to properties, it tells me to continue, you must enter the admin username and password for our client 10A administrator. So essentially, we do not have access here. So without the proper credentials, the system will eventually discard our request after timing out or after you hit cancel. So just for the sake of demonstration, I am going to let this just time out on us. And with the help of the user account controller UAC, we get this error. And it usually takes about a minute to 90 seconds here. Let me just pause while we're waiting for that. Okay, and so here is essentially timed out, brought us back to this main screen where we were trying to update the IP address. So one more time, if I just go to right click, and you see on this menu here, we have all of these options which have this little shield next to them. So with that, we can actually seeing the shield next to these options essentially lets us know that these options require approval or validation. So to change this, we're going to update Tom's account with LPAR, which is least privilege admin rights, which essentially just gives them the minimum admin rights. Here we're going to have to log out of Tom's account and sign back into our client 10A to update Tom's account so that we can actually perform this option here. Okay, so now we're back in our client 10A here. I'm just going to run and go back to our computer management console, and we are going to go straight into our groups. And these names here. Okay, so inside our group list here, we have this option for network configuration operators. So this is the group that helps us to manage network related configurations. We're going to double click here. And by default here, you can see that we have no members included. So we're going to go to add. We're going to go to our advanced options. And then we will select find now. And we're just going to scroll down to our user Tom. There he is. We'll select him, hit OK. And this is where we want to add our permissions. And so now we can see Tom has been added, and now he should be able to manage the configurations for the network related services. So I'm going to hit OK. We'll hit apply and OK. And so now we have him added to that group user. So now that he's added, we're going to go back to his account and we're going to try the same configurations again. Okay, so we're back into our user Tom's profile. I am here on the control panel network connections console. Now we're going to try the same thing to try and update his IP address. I'm going to right click in properties. And here now it's asking us for either entering an admin username and password, but this time it's specifically giving us our information for Tom, which we do have. So if I go to enter that here, now it's giving me the access to be able to go into his IP properties profile, and then I can change his IP address. So Tom has been added to the network configuration group and can validate his rights with his own credentials. So next we're going to do just a quick little exercise here where we will give our new user, if I open my command prompt here, we have our full list of users. We're going to give our user Jerry here rights to create new user accounts. So we've already created Jerry as a new user. We just at this point have to add him to our administrators group, and then we'll go into his account and validate this. So let me pause again, and then we'll resume after the next login. Okay, so log back in here with our client 10A Tomas profile. So just similar to how we did for Tom with the network configuration operators, we're now going to add Jerry to our administrators group here. And for here, we will go to add. I'm going to select advanced, find now, and we will simply scroll down to our user Jerry, select OK. We have him added there, hit OK, going to apply, and OK again. So now we're just going to verify that our user Jerry can now create a new user profile. Okay, so we're now in our user account Jerry's profile. We're going to open our computer management console again. And here we're just going to validate that we can indeed create a new user account here. So we'll go to our local users and groups, new user. Let's say we're going to add Sarah. And create. And there we go. We have our Sarah profile account. So here we can see that we are able to create a new user account from our Jerry's account after adding him to our admin group. So that will conclude this demonstration where we're able to verify the differences between rights and permissions, as well as user and admin accounts and managing different groups. Obviously, there's a lot of other different options as far as groups that you can do, lots of different options for the rights and permissions that you can perform. It's just kind of a little quick demonstration video on some of the basic kind of concepts here. I do appreciate you spending the time, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks again.